Hi, everyone. When the organizers of this conference asked me to participate, to stand on this stage and speak uninterrupted for as long as I wanted, I got really excited. In fact, I got a little smug. Finally, someone other than me had realized how scintillating my wit and insight was and realized it needed to be shared with the public. And then I panicked. I don't know how to use PowerPoint. I am the only person in the known universe, I think, aside from my mother who doesn't know how to use a cell phone, who's never even accidentally turned on the PowerPoint function on her computer. So I racked my brain. There's also, I guess, the small matter that I have designed and constructed my life to be an expert in nothing and deferring to those who are, while I enjoyed a promiscuously curious, nomadic, and omnivorous life. Some people might call that dilettantish. I am a writer, a model, and an actress. I also do a really good cartwheel, but only from the left. So I racked my brain. Maybe the organizers thought that 15 years of modeling would give you an osmotic understanding of design, or maybe more tenuously, as a writer, I design arguments and stories. Let's face it, writing is mostly about getting the right order of prepositions, verbs, and nouns. I'm also loath to saying that as an actress, you design characters. I tend to agree with Spencer Tracy when he said that acting is mostly about showing up on time, learning your lines, and not bumping into the furniture. So I thought about it, and then I figured it out. I am, as I recently discovered, and to my absolute horror, a millennial. And everyone wants to figure out why millennials do what they do. So, as far as I can tell, and according to countless studies I haven't actually read, millennials are good at two things. One, blurring the boundary between private and public, and two, commodifying themselves, shamelessly and relentlessly. We figured out a way of designing our private selves and packaging them so that they're ripe for public consumption and public exploitation. Social media and reality programming have made it possible for us to self-mythologize by carefully assembling, embellishing, cropping, retouching, boasting, narrating our private selves in front of an audience. But they've also, more terrifyingly, allowed us to think that that construct is actually real, that the playing field has actually been leveled. We're all celebrities in our own minds, right? But there's something about what happens with social media that makes it so that that's actually the case outside of our own minds. So why shouldn't we be compensated accordingly? What's the difference between an actual public figure who has 150,000 Instagram or Twitter followers and a civilian who has just as many? I'm connected to people in my social network who you guys definitely don't know, nor does 99.85% of the world. And yet there are 100,000 people out there who are interested in what they're doing every second of their lives. That's a lot of people. I don't know that many people, do you? And I also think at this point that those are numbers that advertisers can't ignore. A kid with a cool Instagram feed and a bunch of followers is a potential marketing and advertiser's wet dream. It's direct, right? I mean, you're interfacing directly with a consumer. It's authentic, it's attainable, and it has integrity. Think about it this way. Would you feel compelled to buy a pair of Givenchy trainers that you saw, or sneakers, sorry, whatever you want to call that, if you saw them in a bunch of pictures of people that you follow and admire, and they were hashtagged and so on and so forth, or would you buy them based on a slick ad in a magazine? When Rihanna's pictures of herself on holiday look kind of like your friend's pictures on holiday, except that she's like 9,000 times better looking than any of your friends, and she name checks a brand, bingo. I'm friends with a lot of designers and brands. Can you tell the difference between when I'm just expressing genuine enthusiasm for what they do or being paid to do so? And so we all, wittingly or unwittingly, become shills. That may be the aim. There's a whole subsector of millennials who are forsaking higher education, apprenticeship, the slow, miserable grind of a lifelong career in favor of the instant gratification of social media and reality celebrity. The dream is to become a stylist, a blogger, a DJ, a curator, or whatever you want to call it, anything where you can exert the self on your environment rather than actually engaging with it. The dream, of course, is, and we're obviously, as I said, we're extremely well equipped to actually achieve this because we know how to sell anything, and we don't have any real regard for the boundaries between public and private. Of course, the end goal here is the personal brand, right? We want to be collaborators, we want to design capsule collections, we want to be style icons, we want to provide content, we want to be spokespeople. But it's a misleading concept, right? Because these kids aren't really autonomous brands. They're still beholden completely to the actual brands, the Procter & Gamble's of the world, the corporations and conglomerates who are paying them to hawk their wares in whichever ingenious way they've designed it. No blogger, no matter how many millions of followers she has, is competing with Vogue in terms of recognizability, reach, and raw power. Nor is an it girl's design, like makeup collection or whatever it is. It's not competing with CoverGirl for shelf space. I'm including myself in this, are trading on relevance that innately has a sell-by date, exactly like a model's. I, personally, have been a shill more than half my life. When I was 15 and I started modeling in Paris, an adult, an artist, who had experienced most of the world and had about as rich a life as you could possibly want, and the wisdom to go with it, asked me why, or whether I'd even thought about commodifying my beauty. I said I didn't care, that I loved fashion, and that I wanted to be like those girls that I had pinned to my dorm room wall. If I had any knowledge of PowerPoint now, I would have that picture on there and you could see it and see how amazing those walls were. Very spectacular. I didn't really realize what she meant until years later. Like any commodity, my value went up, down, up again, and then plateaued. I sold myself day in, day out. Sometimes for the equivalent of a cab ride and a fancy meal. I'm on the cover of a magazine right now, a major magazine in the States. That's how much they pay you to be on the cover of a magazine. Very glamorous. I didn't realize that my self-worth was intrinsically bound up with the arbitrarily defined material worth that the market had decreed for me. So I quit. After a couple of years, I went to college. I went to that bastion of millennial uber success, Stanford, and I didn't study computer science. I studied comparative literature. I actually took a computer science course at Stanford called CS 101, which is allegedly the easiest class to take, and I had to force myself to drop it because I found it too difficult to code italics. When I graduated, I moved to New York. I got a job as a reporter at the New York Observer, which is a wonderful paper, just as print was dying. And bloggers, with their personal, anecdotal relationship with the world, were taking over. And then something weird happened. After a hiatus of like 4 years, I started modeling again. There was a brief moment when models with a narrative, so we call them multi-hyphenates now, like model DJs, model engineers, model actresses, whatever you want to call it. And I apparently had one because I was not just a pretty face, I had a job, I had a byline, and I could fit into a sample size. Samples are the dresses that get sent down the runway and they only come in one size and one iteration. I could wear those to fancy parties and do cool things, and somehow that was a clever marketing ploy, because no one really knew what was going on behind the curtains, which was that we had stylists and agents and magazine editors were telling us which new designers to wear and so on and so forth. The interesting thing that happened as I became more of a full-time model and less of a full-time writer was that I was getting way better writing assignments all of a sudden. My visibility in magazines and on billboards and all that kind of stuff suddenly made me way more enticing to magazines and newspapers. My writing had definitely not improved. In fact, it probably had done the exact opposite from lack of practice. But it was appealing to these magazine editors, the rate went up, the stories got longer, the paper glossier. The caveat, of course, was that it had to be personal, it had to be about me. The irony of this kind of a me-centric approach is that it's actually focused outward. So I have spent my entire adult life designing myself to suit the needs of others, according to whichever situation I'm pitching. And that's also the problem. For me, and for people like me, every situation, personal or professional, is an opportunity for a pitch. And so I've become more of a persona than a person. My container is obviously more interesting than the contents in this context. So no wonder everyone's terrified of millennials. You know, in the past, we wanted to change the world. Now, we just want to change ourselves. In the past, we wanted to save our souls from eternal damnation. Now we want to save ourselves from the toxicity of sugar, lactose, and gluten. In the past, we wanted to conquer continents and outer space. Now, we just want to conquer ourselves and inner space. We're not interested in the greater good. We're just interested in ourselves. You know, the nice thing about a less me-centric approach is that you never have to adjust or design yourself for the benefit of others. I have a friend, he's about as accomplished and recognized as it gets in his chosen field. He has never given an interview, and he's nowhere on the record. You can't find him anywhere on the record talking about himself. He has a Wikipedia page that's about 3 sentences long, which is about a 20th of what a normal DJ blogger's Wikipedia entry looks like nowadays. He's in the unique, he doesn't have Facebook, he doesn't have Twitter, he doesn't have Instagram. He's in a unique position where he doesn't have to qualify or explain his work. The work speaks for itself. I get it. I like it. It's humble, it's valiant. But I just wish Henry Kissinger would join Instagram so I can finally see a selfie from the war room, because we know he has one. Thank you.